Hey everybody, Bill Caskey here, Thursday morning. We do this every Thursday morning, at least that's the plan, 8:30 Eastern, and I go live and just talk about things that have affecting sales professionals and business owners today. I've been doing this for 30 years, not going live, but in the consulting and coaching business for 30 years, and love what I do. I love my clients. I love helping people. I've probably spent 20,000 hours in the coaching, training, in rooms and on Zoom videos, helping people to grow their business, mainly the B2B space. So today, I want to talk about detachment. We did a webinar yesterday for a program we're doing. Actually, I'm going to show you here. It's called the $1 Million Seller, and it's a combination. It's a hybrid program. It's an online course, digital delivery over 12 weeks, and plus there's group coaching. And one of the things that I'll put that up again and put it in the comment section. One of the things that I realized was that whenever a group comes to me, that we had 160 people register and had 85 or so on, which is a good show up rate. You almost have to teach detachment. You almost always have to teach it, because if you don't, and I'll define it here in a minute. If you don't, what happens is people take your information and they just can't figure out a way to get it into the world, because their lives have been lived from a place of attachment for so long. And detachment, excuse me, is the concept that I will not be enslaved or entangled to a particular outcome. So when you call up somebody on the phone cold, the more attached you are to booking an appointment or making a sale, which is unlikely in the first call, or getting applause or whatever your outcome desire is, the more attached you are to it, the less likely it is to happen. And this goes against everything that we've been taught as sales professionals, everything. When I came up the ranks, and all the training was about eagerness and enthusiasm, and you gotta be persistent, and you gotta hammer them, and you gotta press hard. The third copy's yours. Remember the old? Well, you don't remember that. That was when we had carbon paper for order forms. Oh man, we've come a long way. Aging myself. But I think that all hurts. Not only doesn't it help, I think it hurts. I think it creates a barrier between you and your prospect. If you're attached and you need the business really badly, think about it. Think about the chain of events that happens when you walk in and you're attached. Number one, you're speaking in a little bit higher voice because the noose is around your neck. You feel the pressure. There's a little stress. And so you get a little more animated, and your voice is a little higher. It's not rich. It's not deep. You're not breathing. You're holding your breath when you're talking. You're talking from your chest, not from your gut. You're breathing from your chest, not from your stomach. All those things are physiological. The question is, do they have any impact on the other person? Do they? If you don't think they do, you'll keep doing it that way. But if you think they do, which they do, because we all pick up sixth sense. We know when someone's nervous. I mean, dogs know when people are nervous around them. So we as people always understand that there's a sixth sense happening. There's a subconscious reality going on where we look at somebody comes across our path. I mean, we see it every day. And we say, something's not quite right about that. Or, man, they seem a little uptight. They seem a little nervous. And we can figure that out. So that's step number one, is the more anxious you are and the more attached to the sale you are, they're going to notice. Number two, how trusting are they in you if you're attached to the sale? If you really need the business, how trusting are they? Do they put all their trust in you? Of course not. Because they know you have a secondary agenda. You might say, I'm really here to help you, but they know you're there to help them, but you're also there to help yourself. So when there's not as much trust, and I'm backing down to point number three, how much truth are you going to get? You're going to get some. I mean, it depends on how bad they need the product, how good your marketing has been. Are you doing all the things that we talk about on these lives so that when you show up, it's not all up to you? That's the burden we put on sales professionals. It's all up to you to talk about the product in the right way and the service in the right way. But marketing's not going to help you. It's all up to you. And that's wrong. It's just not the way it should be done today. But anyway, so what are the chances of you getting the truth? I don't think it's very, very high. When you don't get the truth, if you back up a little more, don't get the truth, now you're dealing with lies or misinformation, as the saying is today. You're not dealing with the entire picture. I say that sales, especially in a more complex sale, but really in any sale, you're trying to figure out what are the pieces of the puzzle. What's the prospect's problem? What are they trying to accomplish? What's the impact if they don't solve it? You're trying to figure all that stuff out. Those are all puzzle pieces. If those puzzle pieces are turned over and you don't know what the design is, it's hard for you to put together a jigsaw puzzle. It's the same thing with this. You're trying to figure it all out, so you've got to put all the pieces out there. In order to do that, you've got to ask questions. In order to do that, you have to rely on the answers being good and strong and truthful. And if you're anxious, they won't be. You think they will be, but they won't be. Here's what I hear sometimes whenever I'm in a coaching session with somebody and they say, well, I really need the business, but I didn't give off that vibe. Really? You really think you don't give off the vibe when you're desperate? Desperate people give off desperate vibes. You may not think you do, but you do. And so this whole idea of detachment, I think creates a rift in the amount of impact you can have and the amount of income you can have. And write those two words down, impact and income. We all want income. We all want income. That's why people come to me. That's why people hire coaches and trainers. That's why people sign up for courses. At some point, it gets back to results. It gets back to what am I going to get for the time and the effort I'm going to put in. We did a webinar yesterday, as I said, on leverage, and we talked about how you've got to figure out a way to use leverage in your business. And it's very easy to do, but if you don't know it exists, you'll keep doing things the same way, and you'll be, by God, this is the way I do things here. And really, there's 17 things you could do to improve your leverage, but you don't know about it because you don't take the time to wonder. So if you want to grow income, which everybody does for the most part. I mean, unless you hate money, you want to grow your income, you have to have more impact. Well, how do you have more impact? You solve problems. You solve problems. You take people to destinations. You move people from where they are to where they want to be. That's how you have impact. And how do you ever know where someone wants to be if you don't find a way to get the truth from where they want to be to where they want to be? So if you're attached, they're not going to tell you the truth, and you start asking the question, what would you like to be in 5 years? They're not going to tell you the truth. So how do you create impact with someone who's not being truthful with you because you haven't created the environment for that truth? Okay, we got comments open here. Let's see. We got Angie. Angie, this is good. She who cares the most loses. She who cares the most loses. I could probably end it right there. That's all I needed to say, Angie. Where were you 7 minutes ago? So this whole idea of income results from impact. Impact results from an atmosphere where they're telling you the truth about what their problem is so you can decide if you can help them. So that's really the essence of detachment. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to convince you in my own sly way that you need to pay attention to your detachment level. And we are always on a scale from 0 to 10 of 0 detachment. And by the way, 0 detachment does not mean disengagement. It does not mean total disengagement. It doesn't mean I don't go to work and I lay in bed all day and eat chocolate puffs. Chocolate puffs, chocolate donuts, chocolate holes. It doesn't mean that. It means that I'm engaged. I can be both engaged with a human being and still be detached to whether there's anything there or not. In fact, I'll submit that that's the best way to be. Be present, be caring, be curious, understand what they're trying to accomplish, understand where they're trying to go, but detached to whether you can help them or not. That is some powerful stuff. If you want to get the truth from your prospect, that's exactly how to be. Present, curious, caring, unattached. Now, at some point, you're going to have to say to the prospect who you've been in this environment with, where they feel very trusting in you, and they're opening up their kimono. They're telling you everything about what they want to accomplish and why they haven't accomplished in the past. At some point, you have to pivot to the offer. And the offer is either the next step in your process, or it's the ultimate offer of what you do and how you do it and how much it costs and all that. But I still think you can do that with gingerly and with elegance. You don't have to say, okay, so you've told me all this stuff. Now let me tell you what I'm going to do for you. That sounds like straight out of the Glengarry Glen Ross movie, who some of you probably have never seen, but you should. So I can pivot gently to the offer, keeping in mind that I'm creating this atmosphere from truth, because sometimes what happens when you pivot to the offer, the truth goes out the window. And then is when the prospect starts to, I see what this is. So I think the way you pivot to the offer, you say, look, you've told me a lot of things here today. You've shared a lot of really honest stuff, and I appreciate that. Is it okay if I share with you how I might be able to help you? And they will probably say, well, yeah, you can help me? You think you can help me? I don't know, but here's a thought. Here's one way that we might look at it. And then you lay out your offer. So I want to be detached all the way through. There's a lot of trainers who say, coaches who I think are misleading the public, misleading sales professionals. They say you can be detached on the first call, but at some point you got to prove that you're eager. You got to prove you're committed. You know what? I'll let my actions prove I'm committed. I don't need my words to prove it. I need my actions to prove it. So if I say I'm going to follow up on Tuesday, I'm going to follow up on Tuesday. If I say I'm going to send something in the mail, I'm going to send something in the mail. I may even send it FedEx to get there a little early. Your actions are what creates the trust. It's not your words. Words are worthless. You know that there was a wheel that used to be popular called the rapport wheel. And I'll show it to you here. And it used to be like this: words, tone, physiology. And this is how much of the pie it represents. So words represent 10% of the pie of rapport and trust. And I think of this as the trust circle. It sounds like Meet the Parents trust circle. But it's the circle of trust. That's exactly what he said in that. So words are part of that. Second part's tonality. How is your tonality? Are you talking like this all the time? Are you a monologue? Are you speaking from your throat, not from your stomach? So tonality is important, because if I it's important. Physiology, though, is most of it. And that's why it represents probably 50, 60%. Physiology to me is your actions. Used to be, we'd think physiology as how close we stand to somebody, or whether we're breathing down their neck, or whether we have bad breath or not. Physiology is your actions. Are your actions matching your words? If they do, you will create rapport. You don't need to say to somebody, I'm going to create rapport with you. Just do it through your actions. When you do it through your actions, guess what? You create an environment where they are moving toward you versus you moving toward them. I've always said, and I know I'm getting off here, but we are talking about detachment. So I've always said that there's always a lean going on. You're either leaning on the prospect or the prospect's leaning on you. When you lean on the prospect, this is you, prospect, lean, guess what happens to them? They lean back. If you push too hard, they'll fall right out of the ship. I want there to be a certain amount of what do you call it? Equanimity, where there's a little lean, there's a little contact there, but we're not trying to pressure anybody. They're not pressuring you, you're not pressuring them. So the idea there is that I don't want to start becoming too leany, too attached, too fearful, too anxious, too scarce. When I do, I lose rapport instantly. So the bottom line of all this is, if you want to earn more income, you should have more. You should seek to have impact, which I'll talk about in a minute here. If you want to have more impact, you have to know where you're taking people and what kinds of problems you're solving for them. In order to do that, you have to create an atmosphere where there's truth to be exchanged. In order to do that, you have to be detached, because the instant you're attached, you lose truth. Now, I'm giving you these in sort of, this is the way it is, there's no other way. I know that you might be in situations where you really need to show commitment, but I think you can show commitment versus talking about commitment. You know, when you show up, are your slides in order? Do you have an agenda? Did you send an agenda in advance? Is there a good follow-up afterwards? Was there a digital video? I'm interviewing a lady today, actually, who is a big proponent of personal brand videos prior to a meeting. I'm going to have her on the Bill Caskey podcast, probably be released in a couple of weeks, but maybe next week live, we can talk about what I learned from her, because she's got some really good information on how. So am I sending that out in advance? So by the time I get there, are they leaning on me, hoping for a solution? If they're not, then I'm going to probably start the lean. I don't want to start the lean. Gangster lean. All right. What else? Any questions here today? We got Angie, we got Devin, sorry, good stuff. Great, love this. Great explanation. Engaged, feel like it's what I've always tried to explain. Didn't have the words. Good job, Angie. Hopefully I've given you some words. We got quite a few people on YouTube, LinkedIn. Good job. Okay. Last thing here I'll tell you is that if you are interested in really growing your business this year, we've got this $1 Million Seller course. If you want to get the replay to the webinar that I did yesterday, DM me, just $1 Million Seller or webinar, whatever you want to say. I'll figure it out. DM me and I'll make sure you get access to that webinar. It's about 45 minutes, and we talked about leverage and the purpose of leverage. And then if you want to join me on this 12-week journey called the $1 Million Seller, it's a combination of coaching and digital. And my aim is to help you get to the $1 million level of income. And if you don't think you can get all the way there, then what is your goal? What is the number that you feel like is a big number? But if you use leverage, I can almost promise you can get there. So anyway, hopefully that helps. BillCaskey.com. I love your comments. Please keep them coming. I'll see you next week. We might start doing 2 of these. I don't know, but we'll definitely do next Thursday at 8:30. All right. See you guys. Bye.